Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's video is a very anticipated one. This is going to be my BT7 prediction list for the meta. This is a very anticipated meta for sure, as it completely revolutionizes the whole meta scene entirely. But there was a recent ban list that will affect things from how the JP format was. So if you're going to base all of your predictions off of that alone, then it will be skewed some bit because it's not going to be the same at all. We are going to have a fairly different format from what they had. Don't forget, our Patreon reward for the month of January is going to be Pokemon. This is Renamon's baby form. So if you're excited for some EX2, like I know a lot of people are, that Sakuyamon deck is looking pretty nice in the JP format. So this would be a great memory marker to get your hands on for that format. Now, if you want any of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel, check the coffee link in the description below. There you can get access to all the previous memory markers we've had on the channel. The benefit, though, of going through Patreon is that you get the featured memory marker of the month for usually a discounted rate. Okay, so before you is my BT6/EX1 meta prediction, or at least where we updated it after we got some new info. And this is where we've been kind of sitting, and for the most part, this has been pretty accurate. We've got Jessamon sitting up there at the top, we've got Gabumon sitting up there at the top, and we've got Security Control sitting up there at the top. I think Musketeers probably could be bumped up in A tier. I don't know if it's necessarily like true A tier, but I know that it gets played in such quantities that it's pretty much always expected that it does make top cut, simply because of just the sheer amount of players playing that deck. A lot of these other decks, though, have not really lasted as much, particularly the Agumons, the new D Brigade, or the D Edamon Brigade, or E Brigade, whatever you want to call it. This deck has basically disappeared. D Brigade was like a hot commodity, a great deck, and then it just disappeared. And it's like everyone just stopped playing it all at once. I mean, it didn't get worse. It just stopped getting played for some reason. People started moving on to other things. And then we have the new Imperialdramon. Imperialdramon getting a whole lot of support in EX1 was very popular. Getting more support down the road with the starter deck that is absolutely out of this world amazing, as well as BT8 going to give it even more support. That this deck will never die. I mean, absolutely. It is still all the way into almost BT9 now, still making a top cut regularly. But I think we need to shift this current list a little bit to fit in our new BT7 decks. And that's what I've got down here at the bottom. Don't mind the extra Diaboromon and Imperialdramon there. Those are irrelevant. But so let's make some changes here. First of all, Venomiotismon never did anything. Sadly, just could not make the cut. We haven't seen Ulforce do anything either, even with it getting the new starter deck, getting all that new support for the deck, still just did not do anything, even with all that. Black is one of those decks that was just incredible, just jumped into it and then took the meta by storm, was winning. And then like D Brigade also, it just kind of vanished and no one played it anymore. I don't know if it's just not good anymore. I'm gonna leave it there in C tier. Same with Machinedramon. We actually might need to do a little bit of adjustment, or we might leave it there. They do get new support in BT7. They get their secondary mega that is desperately needed for the deck. Again, we never really saw it do anything in Japan. The meta or the ban list doesn't really touch it as much. Again, it can be a very kind of bricky deck. You do have to hard play like Machinedramon for a high play cost. Even if you reduce its play cost down, it's still a pretty costly card to go into. So we'll just kind of see how it does. Shoutmon is another one of those decks that just kind of has disappeared. It just doesn't. There's other decks now that just do what it does, just kind of better. Jessamon was just an all-around kind of more aggro version of Shoutmon, and so Shoutmon has really fallen off because of the Jessamon coming in. Then we got Yellow-Black Rookie Rush, another one of those decks that has just kind of disappeared. Security Control was super prevalent, and it just utterly crush this deck. Even these the Gabubons and stuff basically was Rookie Rush, but better. It does have a good matchup against Jessamon, at least I would say. But still really fell off that. We won't even talk about green OTK. We haven't seen that deck have the light of day in ages. Lord Nightmon is an interesting one. Some people are predicting it's going to be making a comeback due to the way hybrids are going to work. The boss monsters for hybrids is no longer going to be like Susanomon guaranteed without a doubt. Stall till you can get Susanomon on field and then win. Now you got to really work in megas, and rumored that we could be seeing an upswing again of Lord Nightmon. So that is to be determined there. Dynasmon as well, kind of fitting in that hybrid category. We'll kind of just move these guys out, I would say. How about this? We'll move them down here into D as their own entity, not in a hybrid package, okay? Just as their self. The hybrid package is going to be its own spot on the list, and then pure variants without hybrids, we'll put those down here. So Zulongmon as well, we'll go ahead and throw, we'll throw him down here. He's kind of, he seems some play here and there with Hexablaumon, but just doesn't really seem to do well. It did well in one Australian tournament, and then never did anything again. Titamon actually going to be still a solid purple. If you're not going to go Cherubimon hybrid route, if you want to go to a more pure purple, I think it's still a great deck. And then with the hybrids, just kind of making it, a little bit, more consistent, potentially here and there, making it a little bit easier to go into. We could maybe leave it in B, but I think we'll just go ahead and drop it down to C here. Diaboromon still doing incredibly good, like amazing things. What it's supposed to do with all that support it got from EX1, absolutely. I had no problem leaving it here in B tier. It's kind of like a rogue category. It can be costly if you want to go with a lot of the tournament pack stuff, but I think it's still a solid deck. It does show up in tournaments here and there, and does make top cut every so often, and I think we could see it sticking around possibly. Musketeers. Again, Musketeers is one of those decks like we want to put in A tier, but does it deserve A tier? I don't know. Also, against hybrids, does it stand the test of time against hybrids? I think it's the same issue as security control that we're about to talk about. Hybrids really put option-heavy decks like on the fence, okay? They don't do as well. Those big field wipes, the board wipes, that sort of thing, they just don't do what they used to do because your opponent has a field of like 4 tamers. Essentially, that's like 4 rookies on the field that you can't board wipe, okay? So they're like protected rookies, if you want to look at it like that. So these kind of decks, I don't think they're going to hold up to those hybrid decks. I think Imperialdramon, he's better, but I think he still suffered a lot of the same issues as before. He's still bricky, okay? Even with more choices to go into, whether that be your new level 5s or your new level 6s, you're still doing these evos, and if you ever swing in and hit a single option in security that blows you up, you're out of it. You're just dead in the water, and I think that's kind of the same situation it's always kind of had in. It's still a very phenomenal deck. It's going to jump back up into A tier, though, for sure, without a doubt, once that starter deck comes out. But until then, I think we'll be okay moving it down to B tier just for the initial BT7 release. Edamon, D-Brigade, whatever we want to call it, definitely got to move it down. It's kind of like that the yellow-black Rookie Rush. It's a good deck. It just doesn't see a lot of play. There's too many decks that can be a little bit faster than it. And if any kind of RNG reliant deck, is a thing, it always suffers if there's RNG involved. So we'll have to definitely bring it down to C tier. Agumons here, gonna have to move it down as well. We've seen it. It hasn't performed. You just don't get as many security checks as like a Gabubons does, right? You just can't get quite as many hits in, and then in BT7, you're not gonna be able to use the Greymon strategy with the Agumon and the double security checks for 7,000 DP. That strategy is not gonna work anymore because the DP threshold is a lot higher back in BT7, so that strategy is kind of out the window again. So we're going to be back to just straight Gabubons. Now, as a card by itself, I think he's still good. He's still an awesome level 7, 3 cost. He's still a great level 7. Just a deck on his own, I don't think he's gonna hold up to value. So we might even move him down to C tier. All right, security control. Oh man, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. The day for security control finally not to be in A tier. But does it even belong in B tier? Whoa, that's the question. Does it still belong in B tier? I don't know. On its own, I'm not sure. Just as a just full of options in a recovery deck, is it its own thing still? I don't know. I don't think so. Just because you're all these options that you could just like, okay, he hard played a rookie, he's gonna evolve next turn, or he hard played a level 4. Let me just play this 6 cost option to clear it off the field. You can't do just like these little option cards to clear things anymore, because it's gonna go from okay, well, I'm just gonna wait for you to promote something out so I can blow it up. Okay, you're gonna play Tamer. Oh, okay, you're gonna play another Tamer. Okay, you've got 5 Tamers on field, and I haven't got to kill anything yet. And then the opponent just goes off, and they're like, hybrid, evolve all the way up, swing, do a bunch of damage, recovery, out the wazoo from like Jet Sylphimon, whatever. Okay, I don't think that just straight security control is going to be able to handle it anymore. I know it's a crazy time we live in. However, I do think there's argument for the hybrid variant. We'll probably touch on it at some point, but lots of recovery with just the straight Jet Sylphimon package, and you can go into like a Dynasmon that does a lot of recovery as well with his ability, and then tech in a lot of security options in there. Yellow hybrid doesn't need its rookies at all, so it doesn't need its babies, so you can play red babies or purple babies or black babies, and then be able to tech in those option cards for that security control variant for sure. And then later down the road, we're going to get stuff like Ophanimon Fall Down mode that's going to give a purple level 6 that can evolve on top of yellows. And then, so if you hard draw your defeats here, you can still evo them. And that's one of the things that's always held security control back, is that if you ever hard draw the defeats, it's useless, basically. So having a chance to actually evolve it now and get it on field through other ways, very, very cool. But until then, I think it's going to sit down in C tier, as just again, straight security control, not incorporating hybrids. Jesmon and Gabumons. In JP, these decks fell off. These decks fell off down into B tier as well. However, due to the hits on the ban list and taking those top tier meta decks that JP had, with the Susanomon, being able to go into Susanomon essentially for free, that being gone, I think that these decks are still going to be solid. Now, are they going to be like top, just the best deck like they have been in EX1 and BT6? No, I think it's going to be a pretty nice, again, due to the ban list, it's going to be a pretty nice, diverse meta. So we're going to have some other stuff in A tier joining both of these decks, and they're not going to be falling down simply because these other decks aren't going to be able to outshine them. So let's go ahead and jump into what we got here. First up, we got Cherubimon, which is going to be one of the new ways to play purple, using the purple hybrids and things like that. It's still a slow deck. Okay, you're still gonna have to do a lot of tamers and things like that, and it's very control heavy. And if you can't get those control heavy abilities off, you're not gonna be able to do what you want to do. So I think we're gonna put him in B tier. We're just gonna put him at the top of B tier again, because that when digivolving, be able to pop stuff on field. If you don't have level 4 targets, that ability is just completely wasted. And then if your opponent doesn't choose to delete Cherubimon, you're never gonna get his on deletion effect. So I think that's, again, a very relevant drawback of that deck that kind of prevents it from being A tier. If it was a little bit more, those effects were a little bit more in your control, then I think it would be better, but it's just too much out of your control. Next, we got the new X antibody support here in Durigoramon, and honestly, I just don't think it has enough of its new tools yet. Later sets, we're going to get a whole lot of support for this deck, so until then, unfortunately, I'm going to throw it down in the C tier, but it will be definitely in later sets shooting up for sure. We have seen it every so often do decently. You could almost argue putting it at the bottom of B tier because of that. We have seen it do decently well. Ban list doesn't really affect it or anything like that all that much. So, you could put it at the bottom of B tier. I just think it's some of its best support we're not going to get until a later time. All right, we got our first like true meta-defining hybrid deck, and that is blue here. Blue did lose a lot of steam. Okay, so it's lost its ability to go into Susanomon super easily and just like win games for free. It's losing Ice Wall, and another card that's really great, just like completely turning your opponent's turn off. You get one attack. Okay, if I've got anything to prevent that one attack from going through and hitting me, I have nothing to worry about. If I got a single security, Ice Wall basically prevents me from ever losing. It loses stuff like that. However, the stun power of this is so through the roof. You can just stun your opponent into oblivion until you can get up into your mega, or bounce cards to hand with like the level 5s, the level 4s, and the Tommy and stuff. They're going to be stunning your opponent from ever doing anything until you can get up into your mega, and then whatever mega you decide to go with. I'm really liking the Azulongmon variant. Very, very spicy for sure, to be able to punch for an insane amount of damage because of all the source clearing that you do in this deck. So I think it is going to go in A tier. I don't know where in A tier. Again, because of its drastic loss of power, it is still an incredible deck. I don't know if it's going to top these guys yet or not. Same thing, we'll go ahead and jump into yellow hybrid. I know that's another big one that's being discussed. Similar things. It's losing the Susanomon as its like win condition. Okay, well, I say losing, it's losing the ability to go into Susanomon and immediately try to win with. That's what it's losing out on. However, it's still got an insane amount of recovery because Jet Sylphimon was untouched. I know a lot of people were crying for that to get hit. It's still a great level 5, and then you can go into some really cool megas. Dynasmon as a like I was saying, a good recovery style deck that does a whole lot of recovery. So if you do like a security controls type of build on it or something like that, it's a pretty neat alternate method. Shine Greymon is an absolutely awesome mega that works great in this card. We do lose Reinforced Memory Boost, which again is just kind of like a recovery. If you're not playing a security control variant, I don't think Reinforced Memory Boost is as powerful in this particular deck. It is still an incredibly good card, but in like a security control variant, and that's where it was getting abused a whole lot. That's why it got the hit in Japan, was because of what it was doing when the security control variant came out, again with the Ophanimon and things like that, like I was talking about. That's when Reinforced became a real issue. But in just straight regular yellow hybrid, I don't think it was much of an issue, so you can still just do other recovery things if you need it. But the deck still has tremendous power, incredible consistency, being able to just constantly search your security, grab what you need out, recover back to get you back up to what you were ever at. So constantly just being able to search and grab things out of your security, that's a huge consistency thing. Again, not needing your babies in this, in yellow, opens it up for totally like an incredible amount of different builds. And I think that's what's really exciting for me as wanting to try yellow out over the blue, is blue still runs stuff like, Strabimon and things like that. There's like 2 or 3 different Strabimons that the blue hybrid deck will still run, because those Strabimons are really good there, which means they're going to still run the blue babies also. So, but yellow doesn't need to. You could maybe run the Salamons for more recovery if you wanted, but you don't have to. You can run other babies. All right, next up, we've got the Magna Garurumon, and because of the hits that the regular blue hybrid got because of losing that Susanomon, I think that this one actually has a good solid potential, and I think I might actually put it up here. I think I'll put Jet Sylphimon right around here. I don't know. It's definitely in the top 3. I would say these are probably my top 3 of the format. I don't know which one's better. It's going to be one of those that's always going to be kind of a coin flip kind of thing. But this Magna Garurumon, I think actually, because he is the ideal mega of this blue hybrid deck, I think he actually is a little bit better than the Korikakumon Tommy build. You can still incorporate all the other hybrids into this deck, but him being like the main mega focus and just controlling your opponent's board like out of this world. When Digivolve, bounce something. When attacking, bounce something. So you can get 2 bounces in the one turn that he comes out. Very, very powerful card. So I think he might be a little bit better than the standard blue, just because of losing the Susanomon. Let's go ahead and jump over to Emperor Greymon now. Where does this poor guy fall? Red always seems to get shafted. So same thing with like Agumons, things like that. We just didn't see it do as well. I mean, that's just always how it goes. Blue always seems to get the better tricks instead of red. And Emperor Greymon's kind of that same thing of, okay, well, you can blitz and swing and hit me for one security check. Okay, like, if I block, you get all these great things. Okay, well, I just won't block. If you've seen my other video for why no one runs blockers in BT7, yeah, no one's going to run blockers. So you're hardly ever going to get this trigger. That's a real bummer. He's still a really cool card. He's very consistent. The same with like a lot of these other hybrid decks. The red hybrid deck is still pretty cool. I think he's going to be pretty low down here. He just doesn't have a whole lot of other tricks that he can do in addition. We don't have a whole lot of like stun power like these other decks or the blue hybrid does, right? He doesn't have his need of tricks and tools in its toolbox. Next, we got green here. The green hybrid is still pretty sweet. Again, we don't really use, I guess they do use Susanomon, but they didn't use it as much. They actually did use their Mega as intended. The Ancient Beetlemon, I think it was. So they didn't really get hit on the ban list like the other ones did. Now, we did see it at first when BT7 launched in JP. It was like right up to the top. It was like one of the most played decks. But then it quickly fell off. I think just the Jet Sylphimon and the Kurikakumon decks just really took over the format, and it really pushed this deck out. And but again, now that those decks are hurting, I think he can definitely hold his own in A tier. Up here, it's got the consistency boosts of Beetlemon. We've got the ability to suspend blockers and get them out of our way with Metal Kabuterimon. We've got the ability to go into our Mega for super cheap. It's a pretty solid choice, I think, still. And then lastly here, we've got Lucymon Chaos Mode. And honestly, I don't think this really deserves its own spot. I think this is just a tech. It's not its own deck. Okay, no one's going to build just a straight Lucymon Chaos Mode deck. This is like let me throw 2 of these and 3 of the options in. Maybe 1 or 2 of the yellow ones just in case. But that's it. You're not building a whole deck around this, so I don't even think you can really warrant putting this onto the chart. Again, it's not going to be its own deck. And that's going to do it. Again, this is very subjective. This is just my interpretation. The only reason these guys are still up here at the top is because we don't know. Because all these other decks were hit so hard on the ban list that we don't know. We suspect that they'll be able to hang, at least. They'll all be on this more even footing. Instead of getting knocked completely out of A tier, we think these guys could still hang in A tier. We just don't know if that ban list hit these guys so extremely hard that now these guys will actually still be reigning. We'll just have to wait and see where these guys end up.